Welcome to Three Things. Our guest tonight is a longtime friend of the 108. He knows more about 16-inch softball than Einstein knows about physics. His love of the game has left his body in a state in which it's held together only by duct tape and gummy bears. He has helped me through my lowest lows, and he has been there for my highest highs, which once cost him a job. He's the only person I know who has seen both Marilyn Manson and NSYNC in concert. Unfortunately, not the same concert. His collection of VHS tapes, audio cassettes, and tube TVs would bring any hipster to climax. Coined the phrase responsibly hammered, and he's the kind of guy that would give you a ride even if you were bleeding from the ear. He's the loudest person I know and one of my dearest friends. Welcome to the show, Slim Mick.
It's almost speechless right there. That was phenomenal. I now realize about 11 years ago I made the wrong choice by allowing Beef Loaf to give the best man speech at my wedding.
Oh, that was a good speech too. God damn it! That's it. I'm fucking leaving.
Well,
Fuck
you notice
everybody.
I left out the vandalism. Because I'm a good friend.
Yeah, you didn't preface anything by saying he didn't do this. He didn't do this. You know, you just came.
There was a lot of innuendo in my speech, and certain people got certain things. I mean, that's how I like to play it. You know.
Hey, it was for all ages. It was for all parties. It was beautiful.
Thank you. So how you been, my friend? What's going
for all
on?
ages.
You're letting the overgrowth come in a little bit there. I see.
Yeah, I got whatever this.
Wow!
Oh,
Wow!
Some fluff in it and everything.
Damn. You got to talk to Wally, get some gel up in that bitch, see how it moves and go back.
All right, MSS, that's the first and only time we're going to have a Wally comparison going right out there right now.
I didn't say comparison. I said you should ask him for advice on how to use gel. I don't want to. You guys are not similar. Not at all. You're a good family man. He has a family.
Allegedly.
He's a family man. I wouldn't say good family man, but he's a family man. No,
Mick, but you gotta let that flow grow in there, because your old man's got a good head of hair, man. Just let that keep coming. You're gonna have a nice 40-something head of hair that you never had when we were kids.
I brushed it for the first time in 22 years. And it's starting to get a little part here.
Yeah, I see that.
My mom saw it and she goes, "I can't believe at 42 years old you still have a cowlick." And I said, "Look, when you wear a hat and you get a buzz cut #1 for 25 straight years, yeah, things happen."
I can't believe you traded in the Fisher Price hair for real hair. I mean, the shelter in place is treating you well. I don't know. I mean, I'm so pleased about this.
I don't know how you guys do it. You guys have had long hair, except for a couple years in high school for the Mexicans over there. It's so hot, and I mean, mine is barely touching my ears. I am just, and you know how much I sweat anyway. I am profusely sweating just sitting here because I have ridiculous.
It's not really so much the hair, Mick. It's the fat. That's what I've noticed. It's more fat than it is the hair, but the hair definitely does get you hot.
I blame it all on the hair.
Yeah, me too. Goddamn
follicles. I heard a couple references in the marathon listening I've done of the three things the past day. A couple slim Mick mentions in there. That poor Mick, that poor bastard. He's dead, man. He's gone again. So we're back. We're just back to straight to Bushwood. I mean,
I did have in your intro taught my sock summer to play softball, but I rethought it because I remember when back in the record label days, we put out an album for this guy named Keith Levine, and he asked on the sticker that you put on the record when it's in the stores, for you kids that don't remember that records used to be in stores, he asked that it be placed on there that he taught Sid Vicious how to play bass, and we're doing the design for the sticker and gonna put it out, and we're like, does someone really want to take credit for that? And I thought the exact same thing when I taught my Sock Summer to play softball. Like, does someone really want to take credit? Probably not. So that shouldn't be in the glowing intro.
I appreciate you looking out.
I don't want to embarrass the Hall of Fame family that Slim Mick comes from when it comes to 16-inch softball. Listen, 16-inch softball is a hell of a different fucking animal than 12-inch. I'll tell you that, bar none.
Here it is. Here it comes.
All of Chicago knows this. All of Chicago knows. So, Mick, that was thing one, launching it with that beautiful intro I gave you. And then I was giving a little jibber jabber back and forth, me talking some shit about My Sock Summer, not letting him finish his response. Yeah. Thing number two is you throwing a question our way. So lay it on us.
So you'll be shocked that I struggled very much with this. And I think it's because, I listened to all the three things. And a lot of the questions, were informative about you guys. I already know this shit, We got 25 plus years of friendship with the brothers, and pretending to be friends with MSS is a job in itself.
About like 8 years, 8 years of fake friendship.
Yeah. So I was trying to get something. I wanted to stay, a little bit Sox related, since you are very generous to let me tag along on your show tonight. So this is what I came up with, but it's a little convoluted. If you guys will give me a little leeway to give you a little background in. Kind of like, Dr. Barbada, Thornton Mellon. It's one question, but it's in 27 parts, right?
Yes.
So some of you guys know this, and, for the listeners, grew up a Sox fan, kind of, tilted away once they knocked down the old stadium and built that horrific piece of shit in blue across. Went to that opening day, watched them get their dicks kicked in 16-0, 40-degree weather, and I sat on a folding chair because my seat didn't exist. So kind of went downhill from there. But I've had this conversation with, I think, you guys in Drunk Talk more than once, but, they built that stadium 2 years early. Reinsdorf wanted to be the first one to get the new stadium out there. And then, 2 years later, you had Camden. You had Ballpark in Arlington, all these retro classic, like if you're going to knock down a historic park, you build one in its image, or at least face it towards fucking downtown.
Right.
So,
easy enough.
So I was thinking of something along those lines, and then, it came to me that, Reinsdorf, again, probably didn't have too much to do with this one, though. The Chicago Stadium. Was only built, was knocked down, and the United Center was built, 2 years after. So I was thinking, like, we've been on a couple trips to some cities, and they, Cincy, Minnesota, they seem to have like this entertainment sports district, which is like kind of to be the norm now. So my question is, if you guys could go back to the beginning of the 90s and know that Comiskey's coming down, Chicago Stadium's coming down, 2 new buildings are being built. Where would you build those 2 stadiums where an entertainment district could be in Chicago? And what else would you have around there that would bring in fans, and everything, and make it a staple of sports and entertainment?
Man, that's very interesting. Is it okay if I start, guys?
Yeah, go ahead. Good.
So what I would do, I would leave Sox Park sort of where it is. I like that location. I would, obviously, I want to keep the stadiums in the city. I like that location because I think it's kind of close to everything. It's close to highways. It's close to a bunch of different trains, etc. The idea that you and I have talked about this a long time ago is I'd build a canopy over the expressway, and I would make that the entertainment area. I would leave Bridgeport alone. You want a stadium in a neighborhood. It's nice to have a stadium in, like, where you walk from a neighborhood and boom, you're at the park. And Chicago's lucky that both the baseball stadiums are like that. You know, Wrigley has built up into a little more of a party area, but it wasn't always that way. And there are people who live right on top of that. So there's neighborhood people there. So for that one, I would keep it there. I would build the canopy over, and I wouldn't put the casino right by Sox Park, but I want to put it in between where I'm going to put the new location for the United Center. And where I'd put the United Center is I would put it close to where I would put it South Loop on the lakefront, basically. So close to that new outdoor venue where Meg's Field is. I would probably put it somewhere in that rough area. And instead of making the mistake they make with Soldier Field, where there's only like 2 veins to get in there, I'd build roads more in there and make it easier to get kind of in and out so that people would want to flow in and out to those places. But I'd put it on the lakefront and sort of give it a better location. You know, the United Center's in a shitty location. Yeah. You know, I guess because there's not a lot of people living around there, it's not that hard to get in and out of. But no one is walking out the door of the United Center and going a block and hanging out at the bar. You need to get 4 or 5 blocks away to even get to anywhere you want to go. And that's why everyone has like the shuttle buses and shit there. So I'd put mine on the lakefront. South Loop at that point, when they were rebuilding that, was a tire fire. You could have gotten any land you wanted.
Nothing there at that point. You could have done anything you
I mean,
but that's kind of what I was trying to think in my mind, like what was actually available at that time. Right? Because like my initial thought was you leave Comiskey where you put it, you know, on 35th, and then on the other side of the expressway you put the United Center, but Stateway Gardens was there, and that was immovable at the time, right? So that couldn't have been there. So the way I thought about it, instead of doing that, and I like your idea of South Loop, but the prime spot to do all that would have been where Michael Reese Hospital was, but it was still there.
Yeah,
it was actually still there, so you couldn't have done that. Now you could do that. That's where the casino should probably go. But so my thought is you build south, so you would share the edge parking lot, but on the other side of Pershing, that's where you would put the United Center. And then you would just have this kind of stretch
over there.
And then
there's some space
along that run that's now Central City or Canaryville, whatever you want to call it, Mick. Like along that where they got like Bridgeport Village and all that stuff, that would be kind of your entertainment district from basically like Route back to 35th. You'd have all that kind of along the train tracks on both sides, and then that would be your like entertainment district. And then, you know, kind of bridging Canaryville and Bridgeport, and just you could put a whole bunch of shit there on the sides where the tracks were. Like there's residential on the other side, so that was tough to touch. But like there's all kinds of shit on the other sides now, like car washes and things like that. You could have easily put things there that weren't there and built that up in the 90s. So I think that could have been like a really great run, and then we'd have everything like kind of right there on the south side, and Reinsdorf would have just kind of, I'm sure he and Daly probably would have owned all of it, and they'd be making a ton of fucking money off of it,
right?
But they didn't do that.
No, they did nothing of that.
Seems like a great time to steal, and they both messed it.
They messed it up. I can't believe those two messed that up.
I mean, he's getting pretty good of a steal on the rent right now.
2 biggest fucking rent seekers of all time, and they couldn't figure that out. I'm the one over here telling them how to do it.
Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity isn't even straight.
I mean, I want to piggyback on what you just said there, Teresi, and that was what I was thinking too. Was like, there's a lot of fucking parking lots that they don't use for US Cellular. You know, I mean, or this, not or fucking
US Cellular
guaranteed rate, whatever. You could scoot the fucking you put the United Center down a ways down and you'd be fine, right? And like, you imagine, like I lived in Phoenix, they had America West that had the Suns, the Coyotes, and then right up the street you had the Diamondbacks, and that was awesome because you would have weeks where you would have all three teams were playing. It was the best. Like if you were in a restaurant or anything down there, you were actually making money.
So my summer, that little area you're talking about in Phoenix, that is exactly what they did in Vegas. They like replicated that for the nights. Like, cause I when back in the day with me and Blakey Southside, we went down to Phoenix. When we were going on tour, we stopped in Phoenix where his father lived, and we went to a Coyotes Blackhawks game, and that's how that area is awesome. It's just like it's a bunch of stadiums, and there's no cars, and it's just you just walk around, you go to restaurants, and you drink and whatever. Vegas did the exact same fucking thing. It's a shame we don't have something like that in kind of like that Southside Bridgeport area.
So Teresi, what you're saying is that's the opposite of Kansas City, where they have the two stadiums right next to each other, and they don't have shit over there. There's absolutely nothing between them.
I mean, like if we were gonna do like what Kansas City did, it would be like, let's put the park in Lansing and then nothing around it.
Right, exactly.
Go to Frankfurt for the game and then try and get back to the city.
Right.
I'd even go on the Vegas thing too. Like, have you ever been to like New York or Paris, like where they have?
I've never been to Vegas.
Those fake cities. The fake cities inside the casino, though.
Yeah.
So like, you can have the United Center all the way down on one end. You could have the Sox Park on the other, and then you built this little fake city that connects them, right? And you could go to like all these places. You're like, oh shit, let's go get a hurricane over at whatever such and such a place. Oh shit. Let's stop and let's go get a rum and coke over at Barrel Rum Chasers there, the Jamaican place. Like all these fucking things. You could have 17 different fucking like frozen drinks that you could just get. Like it'd be like fucking goddamn Fat Tuesday all the way to the fucking stadium. And you imagine those two teams being in the goddamn playoffs at the same time and just like going all right.
Ice Like Summer's like you could go all the way around the world and you could get a rum drink here and then a rum drink here.
My
this one could be frozen and this one could be on ice.
My Sock Summer, when Poppy's restaurant goes, when Babu's restaurant goes in there, is it Pakistani or is it a Taste of America? Which one do you want in there? Babu, yeah.
It's Apu.
No, it's not Apu.
It's Babu. He's in Seinfeld.
We're talking about something different.
We're talking
about a restaurant.
Okay.
You're thinking
you're making a bad Simpsons reference.
NWIC is going to be so.
My bad.
He's going to be pissed. Yeah.
Sorry.
How about you, Mick? What would you do? What's your thesis on this?
So, I thought the real obvious thing was to put both of them on the lake near Soldier Field, since that wasn't one of the places that was getting demolished. Kind of got redone, whatever. But I was really trying to think back, like what was like Northerly Island and all that stuff that's over there after they redid Soldier Field. That was it just water?
Yeah, it was like nothing.
I mean, there was.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would logistically probably impossible. But you put, you landfill over there, and you put those two buildings there, and then you got. You have if you're making landfill, you have unlimited space. You just keep building until you run out of things that you want to build. But the reason I was thinking of that is to touch on Beef's point of the canopy is that's what they now want to do for Soldier Field. They want to build over the electric tracks and make an entertainment district there. And I'm like,
it makes sense.
You're just 30 fucking years too late. You're gonna have this in 30 fucking years.
It makes sense for them too because it's such a fucking. I mean, I haven't been to a Bears game in like 15 years, but people I know who have tickets, they're like, it's such a fucking nightmare getting in and out of there, especially for a night game. It's like impossible to get in and out of there.
You could have revamped like they did on the southeast side by Lakeshore Drive, where they extended it. They made roads for no people to drive on over there. Like there's no fucking people there, but they made these beautiful roads so you can navigate around. And I'm just like I feel they missed out so bad. Now, and I will say I love Comiskey now. I mean, it's nothing like it was in '91. The park's great. I enjoy going there as much as I can. You know, I don't go to the United Center. It's public transportation, great when you're going to be hammered for 3 hours at a game somewhere. It's kind of hard to do that.
Right.
So it's just, I feel, and it's just, and as much as the West Loop has gotten built up, it's still like a building on an island. You know, there's like you said, you know, you're not going one block to have a drink over there.
No.
Right.
And I said, you know, no one's watching the Bulls. And you watch the Hawks, for 4 years? You know, the 3 championships and then one you thought they were going to win. I mean, and then there's no one there anymore. I mean, there was nobody there this year. And it's just like, even if they weren't good, the place would be fucking packed because of everything else you have around in that district. You know, and then like you said, the casino goes up just in between, wherever the hell you want. You know, if you put that on the lake, you go back to the old post office, you buy that fucking building. That's your casino hotel. I mean, that's just simple.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you draw a crowd of the casino, and then it's like, oh, well, the game's going to start in an hour, and people got money, and they're like, fuck it, let's go over there, let's get some drinks, let's hang out, you know.
What's funny is like the most well-placed place right now, the most well-placed stadium right now, in my opinion, if they're going to get a casino, if they're going to bring it to the South Side, Wintrust is in the best spot.
Yeah, that's true.
And what's crazy is like it's just DePaul basketball. Like,
No.
Couldn't come up with a worse product.
WNBA is in there too.
The Sky there now?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so
NWO knows AEW Wrestling had their pay-per-view there.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they're inside track there as well.
So I know you're a big wrestling guy. I gotta admit, I don't pay attention to wrestling. But you know, you see ads for things. I see more shit about AEW than I do about any type of wrestling. I don't know if they're just fantastic at promoting or if they're just spending way above what they earn to promote. But I see it all over the fucking place.
So the owners of the promotion are the Khans who own the Jacksonville Jaguars. So as a lot of other, you know, wrestling.
U of I, my sex summer.
Who is it?
That's right.
Shad Khan.
Dr. Khan. I'm looking it up right now. Is that tonight,
Khan.
Mick?
Shad Khan.
No, there's just their regular shows on tonight.
Oh, okay. Because I see this AEW Dynamite, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
That's their Wednesday night show.
Okay.
But the Khans, they got all kinds of money. So most of these other wrestling promotions, when they come out, they don't have any money to play with. So they got
right.
But this guy got it all. He don't give a shit. He's just tossing money around. They got some names. They got some really good wrestlers. You know, it kind of sucks with the COVID knocking the fans out and everything.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird to watch it, but no, I like it. And they got in. I mean, you know, we don't have any. I mean, as much as you can say, you know, wrestling's stupid or whatever. I don't care. I don't judge, and I love it. But it's
because you're stupid.
So many people go to this, and there is no wrestling in Chicago. It's all in Rosemont. So
right.
nobody comes into the city. So this company taking advantage of that. I mean,
it seems smart.
That's smart. Man.
A lot of hillbillies who got money nowadays.
So speaking of that, my here's thing 3. My question to you, but my question to the rest of us is different. Is Mick, you're of everyone I know, and probably of everyone anyone knows, you know more about 16-inch softball than anyone, and you're very ingrained in the whole scene. And I believe parks are opening June 1st. I'm wondering, is there a way softball comes back this year, and like how you do it? And then my second question is to the group: is baseball does not come back. 16-inch softball in Chicago does come back. If this shit gets put on TV, are you watching it? So, Mick, we'll go to you first, and you tell us if you think it could actually come back.
So I don't believe the parks are opening June 1st. I think programs within the park.
Okay.
But I don't believe that they're allowing games or tournaments or things of that nature, specifically in Chicago. Now, 16-inch softball, even though, it's Chicago's game, Chicago takes advantage of the fact that the suburbs have the best facilities for the stuff. So I think they can all dictate whether or not that's going to happen. I know the two main leagues that I play in, neither of them are even discussing when to begin. So if I had to put money on it, which, I don't advise anyone to gamble.
No, you would never bet on anything ever.
You're not a better. No.
I would think that a lot of these parks are going to be aiming for fall ball, which, I just said, for people who don't follow 16-inch softball, we've found a way in the city of Chicago to play year-round. We've got indoor games. You got turf fields now. So fall ball in the past few years has been probably as big as the summer ball, depending on what pocket of the city, suburbs you're in. So I would guess that a lot of these parks and leagues are going to start just focusing on that. We have our national tournament, which is 99% Chicago teams. And that's usually Labor Day weekend, except for when Polish with Extra Onions has a wedding. And I think the couple of organizations are just trying to focus on having that tournament because it's so far out still. And but there's no build up to it. So it's like, you just pick names out of a fucking hat. No one knows who's on what team. No one play with anyone. But I think that's what they're aiming for. And that's like going to be the start of the season.
Okay.
Now for the start of your question, I'm going to let you guys answer first. And then
September would be the start then.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. That's right. Like before I let you guys jump in, there's a tournament Father's Day weekend in Iowa, in Fairfax, Iowa. Maybe Aussie knows all about it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll ask him.
What Fairfax is doing. I know it's about an hour and a half from Chicago. I usually pass his city on the way to Marshalltown.
You take pictures.
Yeah. So they're having a tournament June 21st because Father's Day is like really late this year. Indiana, a bunch of Chicago guys were trying to plan a pickup tournament, 8 teams, 12 guys per team, and they just got turned down, saying the governor in Indiana said parks will not be open for till July now.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, there's going to be programs, but you can monitor them. Fucking 96 grown-ass men running out in the fucking field. No one's wearing masks. No one's social distancing. So
right.
So and if Indiana's not going to do it, Beetlejuice ain't letting anyone in the fucking park. So I don't. There'll be softball in pockets around Chicago and Illinois, but inside, I don't see it happening until probably like Labor Day.
All right. So let's say it's Labor Day. Let's say that shit gets spun up. The only thing that comes back is the NFL, right? The basketball and hockey are done at that point. Right. Baseball hasn't come back. Your weekdays are seemingly wide open. Mm-hmm. Are you watching 16-inch softball with your weekdays? Is that your weekday television viewing?
Look at fucking B. He's like, I watch all kinds of shit. I ain't watching this.
Absolutely, I would watch it. 100% I would watch it. There'd be no doubt that I would watch it. And actually, I would be looking for places to put up betting lines on it because I want to get a little bit down on some of this shit. And I'll tell you a little anecdote. Way back in the day when we was kids and we'd all hang out together, I can remember one night we were out. I usually would drive because I didn't drink back then. I dropped everybody's ass off. I get home back to where, Teresa, you and I get home, and I lived in a basement. I go in the basement, flip on the fucking TV. It's 2 a.m. It's some random ass cable channel, and I just dropped Mickey off, and then he's on TV pinch running in some softball tournament. And they hit a ground ball to second, and he was on first, and he went first to third on a ground ball out to second base. And the commenter was talking about how fast he was, and I was thinking to myself, fuck this guy. That drunk fuck, I just dropped him off at his house 2 minutes ago. Yes, I'm in, 100% in.
I'll channel Big Mick here. That was 1996. It was at Forest Park. We were playing the B Athletes, and Mike North was the commentator.
Yes. Yes, it was North.
That's true.
Good call. It was North.
It was on Sports Channel.
Sports Channel. That's correct. Yes, good call. Very good call there.
Ooh, Big Mick's been posting a lot of stuff over there on the Facebook. I got my Yeti cooler, and I just dropped it into my computer.
That is a cooler.
I'm dropping it down here. Well, it's a koozie cooler. Whatever. What the fuck? Why you gotta be an asshole? It's goddamn stainless steel. I can kill somebody with this. I'm gonna fucking kill you with it next time I see your motherfucking ass.
You'll never see me again.
You see how upset he gets when he's not all high as fuck?
I know.
Right? He's fired up. He's been drinking.
No, hold on. I took
it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. That's all I know.
I took half a 2 milligram pill at like right after lunch, and then I took half like 4 o'clock. So no, I'm probably not getting. No, I'm not as high as normally because I had to lead off tonight, and I'm like, I don't want to be all spacey, and like I didn't want to figure the math out like when I would actually get high. So
yeah, because you're right. Because I mean, you never mess up on these things. So I've got
dude. Wait till you see the Alyssa episode. The first thing I do all day, I'm like, you're saying her name right, and then I go right into it, fucking say it totally wrong.
You did that to TJ the other day. That was terrible.
Yeah. Yes. Oh God, I'm fucking horrible, dude.
Well, you know what though? She was a total pro. She didn't get upset about it. She was ready to mow right past it. But Teresi and I are big assholes, and we made sure we stopped on it and talked about it.
I could not let that go. There's no way. No way I could let that go. But my second summer, you'd watch or you would not watch?
I would 100% watch it. I mean, it's fun just to watch anyway. And then like just like what Loaf just said, like you're like, oh look, the little Mickey guy over playing in third base, or running as fast as he can. Like there's those kind of things. And plus, I don't mind watching women's 12-inch like fast pitch, like that's a fun watch too, because those girls can hit. So if you're gonna mix up alcohol into the whole thing and watch these guys drink and play softball, like yeah, I'm definitely in for that. Plus we could we probably know people. There might be a way for us to capitalize it. We go over there, shoot it on our phones, and broadcast it on the 108 thing.
So now you're talking about.
And then Loaf makes the book, and now we're fucking gone.
This is exactly where I was thinking, because I think the best part of doing this. So the best part of going to see a softball game, and I've gone to see Mick play many a time, and the best part is the hanging out and drinking and just enjoying the good game, just like any sporting event. And I think if you were to have a softball game going and you have it up on Periscope, on Twitter, and you just have a couple guys like us just talking shit about everybody who's playing, because we probably know like 30% of the guys out on the field, and if we don't know them, we'll still talk shit. And we have a drinking game that goes along with it. Like that would be incredible. I think everyone would be down with that. I think that would be something that people would get really into. And now I'm not even sure if I care if other sports come back. I kind of just want to do this.
Now, Teresi, are you a little worried? Because I know our good friends at Barstool, they kind of like the 16-inch softball too. So it could be a little. We might have to throw hands with them to like get this thing lined up for ourselves.
If I may throw out my famous line, here's the thing. I've heard them talk about 16-inch softball, but it sounds, when they talk about it, it sounds like they're talking about these big games that are not that important. The real games are the Sunday morning 9:30 a.m. at Washington Park. when the real
Triple header
drinkers are out
league.
drinking. When you've been out till 4 a.m. and you kind of roll out of bed and B-Flow picks you up and you run out to the park and you go to West Lawn to play the 10 a.m. Sunday game. That's the game I'm talking about. That's the game for real drinkers. That's the game for if you drink like you get paid to do it. That's the game that's important. That's the kind of game we'd be doing. They could take the big games. They could take the championship, where everyone hits the ball 400 feet. I want the game where 3 guys strike out. That's the game that I want to be a part of. That
Teresa,
I want to be commentating.
you and I aren't playing, so no one's going to strike out. Don't worry
bullshit.
about it.
Bullshit. I've gone to games where I was so drunk I couldn't see the ball and I struck out and I was the 3rd best player on that field.
So yeah, the Barstool guys, they came out to the Forest Park No Glove Nationals last year, and I think Barstool guys, forgive me if I mix you up.
They don't watch this shit.
Carl and Eddie.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they have a connection where they're friends with some guys on the north side. They play on a team called Dynasty. Very good team. Finished runners up the last couple of years at that tournament, which it's considered the biggest tournament of the year because it's the Nationals where we don't use gloves.
Okay.
Chicago doesn't use gloves, but the national tournament you usually do because we try to attract in the teams from Iowa and other places. So
they play 16-inch with glove.
yes.
Oh,
Different game. It's like
really hard.
Those games are on the Marquee Network. They're
Yeah.
not. We don't watch them.
the glove games are on the Ocho, but
Ocho.
So you might have a little fight there for it, but I mean, just to plug a little bit of the association that we're really involved with is
Plug away.
Slow Pitch Softball Association. So they have a YouTube channel, SSA Broadcasts, and usually during the year, Game of the Week. So I mean, this stuff is actually out there, and they get a lot of hits, a lot more than I thought they were going to get. And these guys bust their ass. I mean, these are older guys who don't play the game, and they're out going to different parts. Not just one place every week. It's all over, different tournaments, all day. Sometimes to do a tournament and a game each round of the bracket. So that's out there, and like you guys alluded to before, Beef, where this was actually televised before.
Right. Yep.
Rich Melman for Lettuce Entertainment, he made his own team, threw some money in it. Mike North had his own team called North Stars, threw a little bit of money of it. Obviously had the media angle that to help out. And I think we had two years of our pro league, they called it, that was televised on cable TV. Like, why?
Right.
Like, there's no. That's like saying, we're gonna go play ping pong in my basement. Bring your camera. I mean,
that shit's on TV right now, Mick.
Yeah, I know. I've scoured the ESPN lineup and cried mercifully. But I think one interesting thing about what your question was asking was you started off by saying baseball doesn't come back. So let's say it doesn't. Obviously they can play with no fans, but after looking at the bargaining going on right now,
yeah.
no, they won't. To be honest with you, instead of watching fucking replacement players, I'd rather watch softball.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
because those people the people that are playing softball at a high level are the best ones at that. The replacement players are random beer league guys that are no good and will look like shit compared to what you're used to watching.
No, it's the guys that would be playing softball.
It would be like if the parks open up and I'm supposed to go play, but they didn't want to give me my $20 for the bar, and I send my socks up. That's what it was.
So you didn't like my idea of the XLB? What the fuck? I thought you'd be all up into that.
I did not like the XLB, but that was one of the disturbing on some of these three things. But so, and I'm wondering if any of we'll go old timers for lack of a better term, you know, Aloha Mr. Hand, maybe Ken W.O., maybe fan from 1962. If they remember when old Comiskey had 16-inch softball on the field.
Oh my God.
So,
wow.
and my dad, Big Mick, pitched a home run derby. You batted from second base and you hit it out of the stadium, and that was your home run. That whatever the dimensions were. You know, usually fences are about 225, 250, depending on where you go. I mean, you gotta put a little oomph in it to get that big
That's
ball.
a big one.
Yeah, really. Shit. Did anyone hit home runs out of Sox Park?
Todd
base?
Frazier won it.
Holy fuck. That's good.
So, all right, so baseball isn't back, but you got to use the park for something. You want to televise the games, that's great. You want to go to fucking McWayne or Armour Park to televise a game? Fuck no. Televise it from guaranteed rate.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love it.
I think I might have posted something. I don't know if I put it on Twitter or Facebook. Because it was Macho Man's anniversary of his death. They had, when one of the WWE pay-per-views was in Chicago, they had a celebrity and wrestling 16-inch softball game. And
Shit.
love this. It's phenomenal. But I'm like, have celebrity games. What year was the last All-Star game at Comiskey? Was it the year? Was it when they won?
It was 03, maybe?
It was
3.
Yeah, it was 3.
It was
3 was the All-Star.
Okay. So
Garrett Anderson won the home run.
Well, they always had.
You were there, right?
I was there for the home run derby. Garrett Anderson won it.
So they have the celebrity softball game that's usually on, like, you know, whatever All-Star week is, and they'll have it on Sunday night. Well, one inning of that game in Chicago, they took the 12-inch ball out and they played 16-inch.
Oh,
nice.
So,
sweet.
So the fact that it's already happened before in whatever, you know, level it was.
Yeah,
definitely happened now. And I've seen online and on social media what other people are currently watching because they lack sports on TV. So yeah, there would be people that would watch this shit.
I mean, like, John Oliver's sponsoring marble racing right now. I mean, like, it's fucking. we're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, Barstool Big Cat is doing this shit on Periscope where he has the electric horse races.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's got enormous. It gets like 50,000, 60,000 people watching that shit.
The NHL let the Chicago Blackhawks into the playoffs. That's how desperate things are for sports right now.
I heard that the books in Vegas got destroyed on the yes/no playoff prop because the Hawks had a lot of money on them, and them getting in as a 12th, they have to pay the bets. They got to pay the Hawks.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah, 24 teams make the playoffs. They all count.
They got to pay. That's right.
Oh my God!
You know what though?
This might be the only time I've ever felt bad for the Vegas books.
You know, they could in theory play it by like, okay, well, we're gonna no action all these, but it's much better for them to pay everyone, and then it'd be like, that crazy shit happened. Anything could happen. Get some money in here and bet on these fucking teams. You know?
They're hoping that money turned right back around.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that today too, because like, what was it, Eddie Ochek that hit or placed the first like sports bet on like the Sox to win the division or whatever, right?
Rivers,
and they could like in sense could say, well, they didn't win the division, so we're keeping your fucking money, you know, type deal, which probably will happen in Illinois. But Vegas, I mean, playing out shit like that, that's crazy, man. Like, wow. Like I would have thought that they would just been like, I thought they would do what you said, Loaf, is that they would just go no action and
it's just a no action.
Right. No, but it's such a good promotion to just pay it. It's great.
Yeah, that's nuts.
You never know. Also, like, they might have made so much money off of the 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs. I don't know. That might be enough, but who knows? I mean,
hey, you know what? They should share some of their secrets with the Cubs, so the Cubs lose 70% of their income right now. I mean, it's some crazy shit going on up there on the north side.
I didn't realize that the Cubs, who make a shitload of money off of their own network, made most of their money what 97% of their money off of people coming into the game where they could hold 35,000 people.
Hey, when you're buying a $35 bucket of popcorn, I mean, I understand it, right? Like that's how you make your money.
Hey, this is a Sox podcast.
How dare you?
Get together.
Hey, we talked about the rent seeker earlier. All right, Mick, I really want to thank you for jumping on, man. I appreciate it. I will obviously talk to you soon, and we'll go driving around with a guy with a bleeding ear as soon as we possibly can.
Mask on. No ear. Can't wear a mask. I can't let him in the car.
Right.
No,
as long
he's got to wear an ear mask. You're right.
He's got an ear.
I agree.
He needs.
He needs headphones to cover the blood coming out just to protect you guys.
He needs
and
Terry,
he has to wear a mask. Yeah.
The Terry Steinbach, he needs that mask.
Steinbach was ahead of his time. Guys, I completely, I love, appreciate that you allowed me to come on. You guys know I support all your stuff, whether or not I'm a diehard Sox fan or not. So thank you for letting me participate a little bit, and wish you guys luck in all your new things. 3 things is great. So keep coming up with the ideas.
Dude, can't wait to see you on TV playing softball. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.